Hey fellow animators, I am Ilosher. Welcome back guys, let's continue right where we left off. After finishing the skin for the legs in last episode, let's jump right to a collarbone and arm. Because if we take a look at this middle part, spine and pelvis is quite okay, and even if it wouldn't be, we will get back to it later. Now let's start with this area here next to chest, and fix that. Let's start with painting again and just generally remove the areas that we don't want for the arm. This is way too much weight here. It should basically end somewhere here. Let's maybe even change the brush size and strength to get through it faster. All of this can go away. Maybe even this edge. Let's soften this up just roughly. Okay, now switch to the other bones, because as we subtracted the weights, it might have been added to some of the other arm bones. Collarbone seems okay. Right, this other arm bone. You can see it has a lot of weight here. That's the issue I was talking about when you subtract the weights. So only do that if you know what you are doing. In these rough passes, it's not that big of a deal for now. Okay, immediately you can see that this side is already much better than the other one. Okay, let's check the bones again, but more precisely now. Right, we can sort out the neck here first as well. Again, the arm is affecting the neck way too much. Okay, for this first pass, this is enough for now. Let's now try and sort this area here. Let's select all of these vertices and try blending them like we did when we were skinning the legs. It seems to be working quite well. Oh, here, spine 2 bone has a really big influence here. We need to add a lot of it back to the chest bone. If we take a look at it, spine 2 bone is this one down here, and the influence goes way up here, which is not right. So let's add a lot of it back to the chest bone. The vertices don't move too much, but you can see the colors changing quite a bit. Maybe let's try and find a better pose, where we can actually see the changes more clearly. Maybe this. Now let's try and blend the weights and see how it goes. You can select just a few of the vertices and then grow the selection. But we can see that the spine 2 bone still has a big influence here. So what to do? Let's again try and add more weight to the chest bone. Okay, it's removing the weight from the spine obviously. Let's grow the selection a bit more and try to blend them to smooth it. But it's still too much, so add even more to the chest. And maybe subtract a bit to spread the weights to all the bones, not just the chest bone. Blend. And it's starting to look alright. This edge is a bit janky, so take a look at it. Blend doesn't seem to sort it out completely. Oh, it's probably because this vertex has a spine 1 influence while the others don't. So add spine 1 to these vertices and scale it back to smooth it more. Something like that. You can see that the weight for spine 1 is just 0.039, so almost nothing, but still it has quite an effect on the deformation. And I would say this is fine for now. It's not worth to spend extreme amount of time on every single area. This is already much better than the other side, as you can see. It's not 100% just yet, but it will never be that anyway. We are getting somewhere though. Now let's check the other poses more closely. This is still quite bad. But it's because we have removed the weights from the arm bones here, because we needed that for the other poses we were just doing, when the arms are up. But let's try to sort it out. This area here doesn't need to move at all, so let's just remove it for now. Maybe just add a small influence to blend it a little better. We can add it here as well maybe. Other than that, I quite like it. Let's take a look elsewhere. The sharp collarbone to arm transition I like, so I will keep it like it is. These few vertices could use some blending. It doesn't seem to sort out this one here, so other trick we can use is to copy the weights of a neighboring vertex and paste it on that one to see what happens. And it did something. So let's try and blend it again, and cool, it seemed to have worked. And I'm just trying to blend what I can so the polygons deform as evenly as possible. It seems quite alright. And you have to realize that, like I have said in the episode where we were creating the skin test animation, this area is very hard to skin, because you can move the shoulder to a lot of different poses. Sometimes you just have to deal with the skin issues in the animation, and just not animate extreme poses, or try to animate them differently. For example, this pose will probably always look bad, and you will not sort it out without some correction shapes or without breaking other poses. But you can probably achieve the same result with twisting the arm at the elbow and not rotating it this much in the shoulder area. This, even though it looks terrible, is actually not that bad. Maybe we can try something, but this will not work in my opinion, because it will again destroy this pose, which was fine before. I'm just trying, but like I have said, these are the things that just the skin will not solve. It has its limits. Try to do some quick blends to see if you can help with something or not, and then just leave it be. You can always get back to it even during animating. If you later find out that some area is not working at all and looks terrible for the pose you need, you can always reskin it. Okay, that is one of the hardest parts done, and now we have basically all of the lower areas finished. Cool, let's continue with arms. Check these twist bones if you see something wrong or weirdly deformed. But they should generally be quite okay by default. Maybe just try to blend the dividing edges to see if it helps. The elbow. That looks quite alright as well. Not much to change here. The forearm, on the other hand, could use some polish. This twist is already quite extreme, so it's okay it looks a bit weird, but still it could maybe look a bit better. Blend the edges, but not too much, because the arm will lose too much volume if you overdo it. Also, we can clean it up a little and remove some weights. But like I have said, check if the loss of volume isn't too much and that it still looks okay. Something like this. Okay, let's move to the hand. Let's try to do something with this edge. By the way, also keep in mind that you can always move the bones like we did with the foot, if skin is just not cutting it. Some things cannot be done just with skin. That's just a side note, so you don't forget to also always consider that option. Now this vertex is a bit off, so let's try if blend will solve it. But looks like that's not it. Maybe fingers have some weight here. Let's remove this. Let's also check other fingers if they don't affect this area. But it seems that's not the case also. So let's just copy the vertex next to it and paste it here. Okay, that's better. Alright. Let's move to the hard part, the fingers. First, do the general first pass of removing unnecessary weights for each bone, similar to what we did at start for the whole body. Quite a lot of influence should be removed. Basically, a finger shouldn't have any influence on any other finger, so it's safe to remove anything that is reaching over. Focus on just the first two bones of each finger, those around the palm, because the actual finger part of the fingers we will be skinning manually later on, and it will be pretty easy to do, so no need to invest any time in it now. So like I have said, focus on the parts where fingers meet, that they don't go over and influence other fingers around them. Also clear out anything that is too far from that particular bone, and generally just clean up the weights a little bit. Here it's not possible to tell you specifically what to do with every single vertex, even I am just generally doing what I feel is right. We will get to all of these parts more closely in a bit. So after we are done with the first pass, let's take a closer look at the fingers from the other end. This, like I have said, will not be that hard to do. Here we can do it like this. Select the end of the finger and grow the selection until you get to the splitting edge. This one in this case. So select all of them and put in the weight of 100% for that last finger bone. That will look something like this. Now for the splitting loop, that is in the middle, put in a 0.5 value for the next finger bone. The loop is split 50-50 between them. Then next loop and next one to a value of 1 for this bone. And for this loop near the splitting edge, put in 0.1 and also for the other loop 0.1 for the other bone. This way the finger bends really well, and also we are sure just these two bones affect the vertices we went through, because we first put in 100% weight for one of the bones. This is the way we will be going through all of these edges. Let's go on to the next one. First put in the value of 1, because that will basically zero out all the different weights in here. Then select the middle loop, put in 0.5 for the other bone, 0.1 for the neighboring loop, next area value of 1 first, and 0.1 for this loop. Another part done, and we will end it here with this loop where we put in the 1 again, and leave it like this for now until we come back to that area again. Let's continue with the next finger first. Now that you know what we are doing, it's really quite easy. It's just putting a value of 1 as a first step, and then 0.5 and 0.1 for the corresponding loops. Don't forget to help yourself with the tools in the weight tool like grow and loop, beside all the others. When you are finished with the finger, it should look something like this. And also the animation should work fine. Okay, so continue doing the same thing with the rest of the fingers. It's pretty easy, but just takes quite some time to do. If you keep doing it like I have shown you, you can be sure that no other bone will affect these vertices, only those you want to. And that's why I was telling you that you don't need to pay too much attention to these parts while doing the first pass of removing the weights we did just a minute ago. Okay, after finishing the thumb, we have the easy part done, and now we are going to take a look at the bones inside the palm and the first finger bones. Fixing these areas is quite hard and you can get lost in it pretty quickly and invest too much time into them. You have to make peace with that you will probably not get the absolute perfect results here, and that's okay. Well, let's take a look. You will usually no longer be able to use loops for vertices selections, which will make it even more time consuming as you have to select vertices individually, but it is what it is. Let's start by putting 0.5 weight for this middle edge. Notice that I don't put in a value of 1 first anymore because now I don't actually want to remove all the small weights here because they might be useful. So we are now back to just finding the areas that don't look good and might be done better, and again using blend and scaling of weights, exactly as we did when doing all the other body parts so far. So I am looking specifically on the areas where two bones meet, where the fingers bend. Let's also check how the palm looks around here. Let's maybe try to blend this area and see if softer transition would not look better. This looks pretty alright. Okay, cool. Keep in mind that it's not even humanly possible to bend one finger like this by itself. So it's quite an extreme pose and therefore it will probably not have the prettiest deformations. But this is fine. Just look for vertices that don't exactly fit between others and try to see if using blend will make it better or worse. Let's also check this bend right here. And it looks quite alright actually. You can see this area here is basically 50-50, which is what we wanted. Alright, let's move to the next one. This also looks quite alright. The top side is without a problem. This lower side could maybe use some polish. Let's try blending first again. And this is actually quite okay. You again have to realize that we are in extreme poses here and that this animation is bending the finger to the extreme, so a result like this is fine. Let's now check the bend even with the first finger bone. And yes, here we can see the issues. However, this will be quite hard to explain step by step, because when I was scanning this, I also had to figure out what should go where. I started with this middle part here and realized that it should probably be weighted more on the palm bone. So I have added that one. But I guess that is too much, so let's add it a bit back to the finger. These vertices are quite off for some reason. But actually what I can see right now is that the finger on the right should not have any influence here like it has. Maybe even this area. Okay, it's starting to look a bit better. But these two vertices are still quite off. I tried to copy the values from the neighboring ones and paste them, but it didn't seem to help. Now I am trying to blend a larger area to see if it would look better. And it's not bad really, because if we get these vertices back to the first finger bone, it will start to look like what we want again. I'm starting to like this. Just these corner vertices are still off, but they probably have to be. It's not the smoothest surface you have ever seen, but in such an extreme pose like this, it's alright. I'm not going to spend any more time on it. That's what I was trying to tell you, that you can get lost in it and start going in circles. Now I'm doing basically the same thing as before. I will stop speaking now for a while, just to let you watch what I'm doing. I would again only keep repeating what I have already said to you. Basically, after I clean up the main area, the main tool I'm using is the blend button, and trying if the result I'm getting is better or worse than before. You will probably always have some spiking vertices that seem completely out of place, but they might not be. It might be just because of the extreme pose you have animated, or just because the polygons are squares, and if you deform a square too much, it will always have a weird shape. Don't try to be a perfectionist here. Maybe this part will seem to you that I am struggling with this, but actually I didn't feel lost or not knowing what I am doing at any point in this process. The point is that it's not as straightforward here as with some other simpler body parts. You have to try things a lot. Also, I specifically wanted you to see that even after you have done hundreds of skins for different characters, there are parts that will take longer, even though you know exactly what you are trying to achieve. Here the mistake was, I haven't checked again if other fingers don't influence these areas. That's why this middle line wasn't like I expected it to be. Okay, that's not terrible. Okay, I think you pretty much understood what I was doing with these last two fingers, and the final result is good enough. We can take a look at it also with edit envelopes turned off, so we can see the mesh also with shadows. And it looks quite alright. These extreme poses are not that important, as you can never really bend the finger like this by itself. Okay, I consider this part done. The hand is finished, we can move on to the other areas. And good news for you guys is that we already have all the complicated areas finished. There shouldn't be anything harder anymore. Okay, I think we can end this part here, and in the next one we will continue with the head, which is actually the last major body part we have left. We are slowly closing in on the finish line. See you there. I am Miloš Černý, and thank you for watching.